To tell us about the impact of losing car lanes on city businesses, I'm joined by Bill Lang, the Executive Director of Small Business Australia. Good afternoon, Bill.
G'day, Dee Dee.
How hard is it to get into the city for cars and delivery drivers?
Well, it's much harder than what it was, before the pandemic and the government's response to the pandemic has impacted us, and for a couple of reasons. There's less space available, particularly for delivery trucks that are delivering things to retailers, fresh food to the restaurants and hospitality venues. So whereas in the past they would be able to pull up in a street like Exhibition Street right out the front of the venue and, deliver in the drinks, deliver in the fresh food. Now they've got to go and park around the side street, so therefore it's taking more time. That means more cost. And of course, we've got now many people concerned about public transport and the use of public transport after they've been so sort of scared to stay safe over the last couple of years as part of the government's response. They prefer to be in their own cars, and there's less space available to actually drive on the road in a whole bunch of streets, or to park very easily out the front of a business, to pop in and pop out, perhaps to quickly pick something up and you're there for an hour or so. So we've got increased demand. More people want to be able to drive their cars and less space to actually be able to drive your car.
Have you looked at any better ways of managing deliveries? And we'll come back to the bike lanes in just a second. But has it ever been sort of discussed, perhaps having deliveries done within like an overnight sort of window, have them stop at, for instance, 7 a.m. in the morning? So they're driving on roads that are clearer. They're going to be using less petrol overall. Would that work?
Look, I think that sounds like a pretty, common sense and practical idea. But what we have to put alongside that is the availability of drivers, the cost of those drivers. So then we have to look at the impact of our award system and Fair Work Australia laws and making all of that sort of add up. Are the businesses still open then to actually have staff available, to accept that food? Is it still fresh if it's stored overnight in a refrigerator? So it's a very practical suggestion that you're making, in the same way that, changing fares in terms of what the costs are of catching public transport at different times to have, people, sort of better manage the timing of demand, with the available capacity that's available, say, on public transport.
Bill, we would not have had this discussion 10 years ago because we didn't have all of those separated bike lanes. I mean, how big of a difference have they made to the city from a business perspective?
Oh, look, it's made a significant difference, and combine it with those super tram stops that have also taken up a bunch of extra space, in the middle of the roads in some of those city roads, particularly sort of inside the grid of Melbourne. Again, we've got, there's more people in Melbourne, more people want to drive cars. A bunch of people that do want to drive cars actually can't ride bikes or electric scooters. You never see, from a shopping point of view, I know, Dee Dee, you're saying that you're not seeing many bikes. I live in Carlton and I walk in and around the inner city most days of the week. We've also got a situation now where, the Premier is saying that he's expecting that the city will only get sort of 60% of its working days back in terms of workers coming in. So I think they're talking about what they call twat workers now, Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Thursdays. They're working from home on Monday and Friday. So they're not even riding their bikes to work on Mondays and Fridays based on what the Premier is predicting. Meanwhile, the city's put down these hard concrete barriers, taking car parks out, taking lanes out. I know myself, when I'm driving, I'm forever, I drive down the Rathdown Street area in Carlton down into Exhibition Street. You just got to keep reminding yourself that there could be someone in that bike lane who's going to come straight through, and that you have to sort of give way when you're looking to turn left, let's say out of Rathdown Street into Victoria Parade. So it's another example, more complexity, more things that we have to try and get our head around and keep up with that takes a lot of energy and adds to the stress that drivers have.
Oh, it's a massive headache, isn't it? Bill Lang, what would you like to see happen?
Well, I think that the city council needs to take account of people's changed behaviour as a result of this pandemic. So that's the first thing, as opposed to forging ahead with whatever they were planning based on research they did years ago. So I think, no more new ones. And then secondly, looking at where they've put them and looking at the actual utilisation of them, which ones should be ripped up to, widen the arteries to let the blood flow, which is, people in their cars coming back into the city to flow much more easily, Dee Dee.